Have you ever started a project and wondered, how's this going to turn out? I have many times, I'm sure you have, and I want to show you this hack that I've developed over the years to help me predict how a project is going to turn out and to help me figure out what I'm missing that I need to make the project better. And I'm going to use a very simple example, but you can use this template on all kinds of projects like starting a business, projects like learning a new hobby, projects like taking on some big endeavor that you've never done before. So we're going to use a simpler or kind of a simplistic one today, which may be learning how to fix your brakes. So let's say learning how to change out your brake pads on your vehicle. And maybe maybe you're new to owning a vehicle, or maybe you've decided you've had people, your mechanics, work on your car over the years, and you decided you're going to take up that hobby yourself. So how's that going to go, right? And what do you need to accomplish that task? So I'm going to show you this template. It's an acronym, and the acronym is T.O.M.K.A.T. 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 And each letter stands for a critical component that you're going to need, regardless of the endeavor, give or take, that you're going to need in order to execute the project. And if you're low on any of these 6 items, the project's going to take longer, it's going to turn out less good, it's going to be more expensive, okay, it's going to be harder. All the hard things, all the bad things are going to go up, and all good things are going to go down, okay? So very simply, T.O.M.K.A.T. And there could be some other things you need. All right, this is a generality, but I'm telling you, it's going to help you a ton. So first one, the T in T.O.M.K.A.T. is tools. You need some tools. So if you're going to change your brakes on your car for the first time, or if you're going to learn how to do that, you obviously you need some tools, right? And you don't need great tools necessarily unless you're going to do this a lot. I will tell you that great tools are great. It's a very pleasing and satisfying thing to have great tools. Junky tools may get the job done for a bit, but then they end up breaking. They end up failing at some point. And if you're going to do something substantively or more than a few times, you ought to get some nice tools. So first thing you need is tools, okay? Second thing you need is opportunity. That's the O in T.O.M.K.A.T. You need to be able to have the time, or you need to be able to have the location or the situation, again, to fix your brakes, where you can put your car up on jack stands or in a garage, right? In a kind of covered driveway, if it's if you've got weather, or maybe if you need to leave it there for a few days. If you're live in an apartment and you have to park on the street, or you have to park in a parking garage or something like that, your opportunity is pretty low, right? But you need to have the opportunity. The third thing you've got to have is materials, and this is the M in T.O.M.K.A.T. And that, in our metaphor here, in our example, is, well, you got to have the right brake pads. You got to have the right parts. And trust me, when you're taking on a vehicle fixing project, having the right parts can be sometimes a little difficult to accomplish. But you got to have the right parts. Now, you have the right tools, and you have the opportunity, you got the time and a space to do the work, and you have the right parts, great. But that's just the first 3. There's some other things you need here in order to execute really well. So the fourth is our K in Tomcat, and that is knowledge. Okay, it's learning what it's going to take to fix your brakes, learning which nuts and bolts to take off, which how to, what kind of processes and procedures you've got to go through in order to get the brakes off, brakes on, that sort of thing. And you can pick up that knowledge in many different ways, but you have to have the information. You actually have to have some information that you have picked up about that task. Okay, so that's the K. The A in Tomcat is acquired experience. And that is perhaps more important than some of the others, although all of these are very important, okay? But acquired experience as in, okay, if this is your first time working with tools, if this is your first time working on a car, you don't have any experience, right? You could have watched all the YouTubes, you could have read books, you could have watched other people do it. That is knowledge, okay? But actually doing it yourself, hands-on, jacking up the car, taking off the wheels, that's experience, okay? And depending on your level of experience, right, you can predict how the thing's going to go. And then lastly is talent. And talent is that kind of unmeasurable, at least, innately measurable situation here where you've got to be able to say, all right, am I good at tools? Am I good with my hands? Am I good at fixing things? Am I good at troubleshooting? Am I good at am I okay to get my hands dirty and get uncomfortable and put myself in situations that are kind of intense maybe, do I am I kind of butterfingers, like I'm dropping things all the time and I don't really know how to put things together with my hands and so forth. And if that's the case, you may not, like this may not go well, right? So those 6 elements, tools, opportunity, materials, knowledge, acquired experience, and talent, are necessary elements of any project. You've got to have all of those in order to succeed at any project. And this could be, again, a practical, physical, mechanical project, or it could be a more of an invisible kind of project, like like hiring somebody, or perhaps getting good at French or something, some hobby. So let me tell you now how to use this. Okay, let me light my cigar here. So in order to use this, you want to, first of all, take a sheet of paper, write Tomcat right down the side of it, from kind of top to bottom, well, wherever you want. And in the middle of the sheet of paper, write down what is the thing you're trying to do. What is the actual project here? Fix the car. Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, take tools, and you want to say, all right, do I have the tools I need? Scale of 1 to 10. Now, pause, because if you don't have the experience, and if you don't have any knowledge, you're not going to know what tools you need. Okay, so that's a big deal. But I want you to just kind of decide, try to guess, try to assume, hey, do I have the right tools? Scale of 1 to 10. Okay. Opportunity, scale of 1 to 10. Just kind of take a step back, like, do I have, the right place to do this? Do I have the time? Do I have the energy? Do I have the kind of motivation that may be part of the opportunity, I suppose? Scale of 1 to 10, again. Materials, scale of 1 to 10. Do I have the right parts, and so forth? Then move on to knowledge, scale of 1 to 10. Where am I? How much knowledge do I have about this stuff? Then acquired experience, scale of 1 to 10. And lastly, talent. Okay, scale of 1 to 10. And then you take a step back and you look at this score. And this is very simple, okay, simplistic. But you look at this score and you're going to have a bit of an epiphany, okay? You're going to say to yourself, well, look, I'm really low here on acquired experience, for example. This is your first time. But I got all these tools because I watched all these YouTubes, and I know what I need, and I have like this box full of tools I picked up at Harbor Freight or Home Depot or AutoZone or whatever, right? Or maybe your dad or brother or neighbor or somebody loaned them to you. Okay, so you got the tools, great. But if your acquired experience is low, then that is going to ding you pretty good. And if your talent's low, that's going to ding you pretty good. Actually, any of these, right? So you kind of take a look at that and you can decide, okay, this is how it's going to go. It's going to take me a while. I'm going to maybe have to do it over a couple times. I may spend more money on tools and materials and time than I would ever spend having a mechanic work on my brakes. You know, if you're low on talent, right? It may not turn out. You may not be able to fix it. You may not actually get your brakes on, and then have to get your car towed to a mechanic shop, and you bought the tools and materials and all that stuff and spent the time, and then have to pay for the towing, and then still have to pay for the mechanic to fix your car. All right, and so this little assessment will kind of predict all that. And if you look back in your life at some of the things you've attacked or accomplished or tried to do and failed at, or tried to do and succeeded at, and if you kind of looked at those and ran them through this little Tomcat assessment, I think you would see some real interesting, make some real interesting observations. So there you go, super simple little hack. I want to share it with you tonight. Mark Whitmore, head coach, Lodestone True North, Tomcat tool. Go get it.